Matt Mercer, the Dungeon Master of Critical Role, is known for his storytelling and game mastering skills, as well as his incredible ability to play the long game. While I can't provide an exhaustive list, I've been consuming Crit Role regularly since early in Campaign 2, and have managed to glean a few lessons from his DM style. Here are 10 key takeaways that eager Dungeon Masters can learn from watching him in action or listening to the podcast, which is the thing I usually have time for these days. Number 1. Immersive storytelling. Mercer creates narratives that make you feel front and center in the story, drawing players into the world with rich descriptions and compelling characters. He can take even improv and off-the-cuff moments and turn them into deep story beats. For example, in Campaign 3 of Critical Role in Zephyra, Chetney says he wants to spend his downtime riding the local sky hang glider thingies. What could have been a quick, sure, you go on a flight test and it's fun, instead turns into a 30-minute montage with skill challenge rolls and lots of action. The lesson here on immersion is to be patient with the story and let it unfold in front of you. Sometimes you won't know where the fun comes from until you're in it. 2. Flexibility. Mercer rolls with player choices and unexpected outcomes, allowing the story to evolve organically at the table. The lesson here is be open to the chaos and let player decisions shape the course of the game. Let go of the idea that whatever you had planned was cool. You can tell when the players do something unexpected in Crit Role. Mercer does this little voice lilt where he goes, okay, and then gives a quick nod. Then whatever comes next is always fun because no one knows what's going to happen. It's the same reason why people enjoy watching sports, because the outcomes are not predetermined, mostly. Number 3, character voices and acting. Mercer uses distinct voices and mannerisms for NPCs, making them feel like real personalities. The lesson is experiment with character voices or quirks to add depth and personality to your game. If you ask my players, they'd probably say their favorite moments from my games are the larger-than-life NPCs.
We approach the dude, and I give a sort of a bow and say, greetings, we were sent at the behest of a giant named Hank.
Oh, well, greetings. Welcome. I assume you are trying to reach Maelstrom?
Yes.
We.
Yes. I'm afraid you have come at a very inopportune time. You see, for Maelstrom is currently closed due to a personal tragedy.
I'm
But
sorry,
I'll be happy
monsieur.
to...
Unless you have a reservation, there is simply nothing I can do.
It seems like you're making fun of my accent. And that's
Oh, no, I didn't say that out loud!
Same with Crit Roll. Remember black powder? If you're new to this or uncomfortable with doing voices for fear of looking silly, please don't worry. Being silly at your D&D table is one of the best gifts you can give to your group. Just give it a try. Trust me. Number 4, rule adjudication. Matt Mercer balances rules with storytelling, occasionally bending rules for the sake of the narrative flow. But notice that I said occasionally. Matt is not what I would consider a rule of cool DM. He does quite often say no. And while he almost always rolls behind the screen, I highly doubt he fudges much, if at all. Some of this is from the fact that it's a produced show for an audience, and so he wants to keep the stakes high as much as possible. Within your group, you can be more flexible than Matt is at his table, and remember to say yes when it could lead to something cool. Players like to do cool stuff. 5. Balanced challenge. Matt Mercer designs encounters that are challenging but not overwhelming, creating a sense of danger and accomplishment. The lesson is tailor encounters to the party's abilities and give them opportunities to shine. Watching Critical Role, it's easy to get lost in the beauty of Matt's terrain maps. But the real beauty is how Matt is able to, on the fly, manage all those PCs and NPCs with such grace and ease. I'm sure it doesn't feel easy inside of his head, but it looks easy on the screen. Once you've been a GM for a while, you realize that balance is in the eye of the beholder. While you can attempt to achieve balance as much as possible during encounter design, the majority of it happens in real time during the combat. You can never account for the swinginess of the dice or for non-optimal combat choices. And what is making it look easy is actually the result of careful consideration happening at light speed because of his many years of experience. And the best piece of DM advice I ever heard was said by Matt in an interview on a Dimension 20 show. He said, if you want your baddies to be scarier, increase their damage output. That's it. Super simple and super effective. Number 6, emotional depth. Critical Role often explores characters' inner turmoil, creating powerful moments at the table. A big reason how Matt achieves this isn't due to him at all, it's due to the talent of the sizable cast at his table. A lot of the time, all he has to do is get out of the way and let those moments between characters arise organically. His players are in the habit of having their PCs check in with each other after tense moments like combat. How can you learn from this at your table? Sometimes you just have to ask your players how their PCs feel. Hey, Jennifer, how does your Paladin PC feel about the fact that your party tortured that goblin to learn the location of the hostages? A good place to do this is during a long rest. It's usually a slower moment, so encourage conversation among the party. Ask, are there any scenes you'd like to play out? Any conversations before you go to sleep? Number 7, pacing and tension. When it comes to pacing, Mercer often plays the long game. Sometimes during an entire 4-hour session, not a whole lot happens, or at least it feels that way. But sometimes, multiple episodes seem like they're constantly building and upping the ante every hour. One arc that comes to mind is Campaign 3, episodes about 45 to 50, when the apogee solstice was approaching, leading to that enormous confrontation. At your table, quite often pacing is a matter of reading the room. Are normally engaged players sneaking looks at their phones? Time to change gears. When events feel like they're slowing down, throw some excitement in. A betrayal, a sudden confrontation, eyes watching from the shadows. Like balancing combat, managing pacing is another thing that comes with experience. Number 8, collaborative world building. Mercer involves players in the world building, allowing them to become a part of the story. The lesson is collaborate with players to create a world that feels personal and meaningful. One of the main ways that Matt does this is to use elements of his PC's backstories in plot development. It's often the source of significant mini-arcs in the campaign. In Campaign 2, one of the characters' backstories became the major final arc to the campaign. You might not be lucky enough at your table to have PCs with deep and complex histories, but there are a couple ways you can still make it collaborative. Just take whatever you plan to do and alter it so it involves the PCs. Do you have an island scenario in mind at some point in the campaign? Well, if one of your players comes to you with a PC with a pirate background, then boom, you've got an in. You send a message to that player that says, in your travels, you heard legends about a dangerous island full of treasure named Suda. And then when an NPC casually mentions Suda a few sessions in, watch that player's ears perk up. You can also just invite the players to literally help with the world building by asking things like, when you enter the bar, what does the bartender look like? Or even something as simple as describing the killing blow on the last monster. You know, the how do you want to do this. Number 9, respectful roleplay. Mercer handles sensitive topics with care and respect, creating a safe and inclusive gaming environment. The lesson? Prioritize player comfort and address potentially awkward themes maturely. If you've watched the Crit Role after show or interview stuff, one of the things Matt often says is, there's a lot of trust at my table. And that trust has been earned through years of continuity with the same group. You might be lucky enough to have this in your group if you've been playing with the same friends for some time. But if it's a new group, the absolute best way to start on this road correctly is to have a solid session 0. Listen carefully to what people like and don't like, what they value, and what will turn them off. Then when you abide by those boundaries, you build more and more trust with each session. Remember, while learning from Matt Mercer's style can be valuable, every Dungeon Master has their own unique approach. Feel free to adapt these lessons to your own style and the preferences of your group. Until next time, this is GM Jim. Do you want to be Matt Mercer? Well, you can certainly try.